Good morning, or should I say just about good afternoon, 49er fans. This is your 49er reporter Dion here, back with one of several videos for the Super Bowl. So I figured I'd break it up into several videos because it's going to be a lot of stuff to cover as it pertains to the Super Bowl, the fact that we're back after 7 long years of waiting. So there's a variety of different things that we have to cover, especially, different ways to go ahead and stop Patrick Mahomes and, slow their defense down and all of these things. So let me get the particulars out of the way. Definitely hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button so you can keep yourself up to date on any and everything San Francisco 49ers. So we're going to get started with how Kansas City has fared in their last couple of games, i.e., the Texans and the Titans. So, what I want you guys to pay very close attention to is just the breakdown and the stats and the numbers, because certain things are not very eye-popping, but the Chiefs get a lot of love. Long story short, they're saying that Pat Mahomes is better than Jimmy G. Is he a better passer than Jimmy Garoppolo? I'm not going to lie, I have to say yes. You know what I'm saying? He has a better, I'd have to say, deep ball, because they focus more on that, though. So that's their thing. The Kansas City offense is strictly about getting the ball down the field, huge chunk plays. That's what they want to do. And, Eric Bieniemy came out and said it himself. Every play that they draw up is a play to score. So they're not a team that wants to march down the field little by little, bit by bit, run the ball here, throw the ball there. They're more so a passing team. They don't really have a real running attack. I'm not saying that Damian Williams sucks, but he's almost all but non-existent. The guy's stat numbers are just ridiculous. And I'm going to give y'all something on that too. But let's get into it. So, versus the Texans. Really slow start. They were down in the first quarter, 21-0. So any normal sports fan would say, damn, 21-0, they getting your ass whooped. Boy, Texas got this game under control. But that's one quarter, and there's 3 quarters of football. That's 3 scores, and we're talking about the Chiefs, the offense, and Patrick Mahomes here. So versus the Titans, they got down 10-7, and they didn't score that actual, that touchdown until late in the first quarter. I'm talking like maybe 3 minutes left, so they almost got donuted again in the first quarter. So versus Houston, Pat Mahomes totals up 25 out of 35, 321 yards, 5 touchdowns. Versus the Titans, 25 out of 35 again, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had a rushing touchdown. So, basically, they beat the Texans by 20. Mahomes rushing versus the Texans, 7 carries, 53 yards. Versus the Titans, 8 carries, 53 yards, and a TD. Numbers are looking eerily similar here, aren't they, people? Save for a difference in the yardage when it comes to the game versus Houston versus Texans, but 25 out of 35, both games. So it's almost like they got them on a pitch count to an extent, because they're saying, all right, we can get this many passes and should be all right. So he's able to extend plays with his legs. He's always looking for the big play. He will use Watkins, Hill, or Hardman on a jet sweep play the same way we use Debo. So I've seen Tyreek Hill come around on that jet sweep, that end around, and I've seen the same for all of the other receivers. So anybody on their team can do that. The only person I haven't seen really do that is Travis Kelce, but that's because Travis Kelce doesn't have the speed that his receivers do. I'm not saying he's a slow guy, but he ain't nowhere near as fast as any of his receivers. You put them in the foot race, they're going to blow him out the box, and they'll probably be jogging, and he'll be running as hard as he can. So then, that's another thing about their offense. Every receiver is fast. So I'm talking all of these dudes are 4.2 40s. Damian Williams, Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, all of these dudes. They're all literally, lightning quick. And they're not build up speed kind of guys, because I used to run track, so I can tell you. There's a build up speed kind of guy, and there's a guy who's got a ridiculous first step. I was a build up speed kind of guy when I had it, because it would take me about 10 to 20 yards and I'd be at full go. There are some guys when they come off that line, they gone. Those are the guys that Kansas City has. They put their foot in the ground, you can kiss them goodbye. They out there, they gone. So that's one thing that we have to be very mindful of, because our DBs aren't necessarily lightning quick. I'm not saying that we're super slow, but you got to think about it from a standpoint of having Uncle Sherm there. He was having a heck of a time trying to keep up with Mr. Adams there, and y'all saw that on that play, man. That hamstring almost got him. He's a little bit older, so he's a little bit slower. I mean, he's only 31, but at the end of the day, it's still, that's a tall order to ask, Uncle Sherm to keep up with, a 4.2 40 speed when he never really had that speed, whether it be coming out of college and now or even in the NFL. So, basically, you have to be able to have guys to slow them down. Now, we do have some quick guys on our defense. McKello's not too shabby. I know that Tarvarius Moore is very fast. I know DJ Reed can keep up with some good dudes. But for us, the flip side of it is we have running backs that are like that. They put their foot in the ground and go. Everybody on that's on our squad that runs, save for I believe Jeff Wilson Jr., can't hit about 20 miles an hour when they're running at full speed. So, that's more than enough, but those guys don't play defense. So, we just have to be very mindful of that. And then with Mecole Hardman, man, one stat that's eye-popping for me is this dude's returns. So that tells me that their special teams is doing a damn good job. Because versus the Texans, he had 6 returns for 142 yards with a 23.7 yard average and a long of 58. People ain't barely returning the ball in the league, let alone doing that. So that tells me that special teams is doing something right. And then versus the Titans, 4 returns, averaged 21.5 yards, and he had a long of 35 yards. So that tells me that he usually gets them in a pretty good field position depending on where the ball is kicked and, how quick they can do that. Now, we've got great special teams players. You know what I'm saying? Raheem is our gunner. The only thing is with the way he's been playing, you're probably not going to see him on special teams. So most likely you'll probably see Breida and Ahkello Witherspoon out there being the gunners, because those will be the 2 fastest dudes, save for Tarvarius Moore because he's lightning quick as well. But those are going to be the guys that are going to be tasked with stopping Mecole Hardman, if he actually winds up catching the ball and coming out that end zone, and or, we kick it and it's a little bit short, whatever the case may be. Because Wisnowski is our guy that kicks off. So we just got to be very careful with him and very mindful, man, because, like I said, these receivers, they put their foot in the ground, gone. So, you know what I'm saying? Next up, we got Damian Williams versus the Texans. 12 carries, 47 yards, 2 TDs. Versus the Titans, 17 carries, 45 yards, 1 TD. So, I mean, he's not really running wild, and they're using him when they're closer to the goal line, as you can see. Look at these stats here. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't anything that's, mind-blowing by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, versus the Titans, his longest run was 8 yards. You know what I mean? So it's not even that crazy. Now, versus the Texans, he did have a 26-yard run. So, 26 out of 47, he's eating up pretty much most of his yardage completion right there. So his numbers, their running game is not something that worries me. 3.9 yards per carry, that's not bad because you want to be at least 4. But then 2.6 versus the Titans. So it's not, the running game isn't eye-popping to me. I'm not really worried about that. And us stopping it, come on now. We've been doing fantastic versus run games, in the playoffs that people haven't been paying very much attention. We shut down Aaron Jones back when we played him in the regular season and shut that ass down again when we played him in the playoffs. So there's nothing that, I'm worried about as far as their running games. But between he and Mahomes, they're averaging about 115 yards rushing per game. So Mahomes is a mobile dude. So we have to be mindful of his mobility and his athleticism because he can't eat up yardage. And he's a smart runner. Like he's your true quarterback runner where he's not going in there. He's not pulling the Lamar Jackson where he'll take a hit and he's trying to, razzle dazzle you with his feet. He has no time for that. Mahomes will find the sideline and get there quicker than you can get to him. That's his MO. That's what he does because he does not like to get hit, which makes sense. It's what he's supposed to be doing. So then, you know what I mean? We got Travis Kelce out here. 10 catches, 134 yards, 3 TDs versus the Texans. So when they played the Texans, Kelce went off. And this was after that first quarter where everybody thought that, of course, Kansas City was finished. And then they came out and just blew them out the box. You know what I'm saying? But now look at the flip side versus the Titans. 3 catches, 30 yards, no TDs. They took Travis Kelce out of the game because they doubled him up. They made sure they had somebody covering him every which way, so there was no way that he would wind up in a situation where he was open, he could do things, he could just, make people miss, or you had him in a one-on-one battle with a linebacker, a safety, or a DB, because Travis Kelce can win those. As far as a receiving tight end, he's one of the best. I'm not going to say it's between him and Kittle for best tight end in the league. And the reason I always give the edge to Kittle is because Kittle can block. And when I look at players, I look at things from a standpoint of you have to be an all-around type of guy. And I look at that in every sport. Like I like Shaq when he was playing basketball. But Shaq wasn't a complete center. You know why? Because he couldn't shoot free throws and he had no jump shot. Shaq was a dominant force down there under that basket. It didn't matter if he was down there. He was knocking the shit out the park. He was dunking on you. He had simple things. He started to develop it a little later in his career, but you can never look at Shaq as a complete center. He was just a dominant big man that dominated down there in the trenches, and that's what he did. So Travis Kelce, to me, has that. He lacks that. He lacks that blocking ability that George Kittle has. But it's what Kittle was taught. It wasn't what Kelce was taught. So, like, when people say that Kelce is better than Kittle, that's because they're looking at at the statistics and the numbers of what he does receiving and how many touchdowns he catches. But that's what he's asked to do. If you put Kittle in the same situation, I'm pretty sure Kittle would have double-digit TDs every year and always be guaranteed to have 1,000 yards. But it's not what he does. We ask him to block more than we ask him to catch the ball. But anyway, back to these receivers. So that's what I'm saying. They figured a way to take him out. And if you look at the difference between the games, they beat the Texans by 20. They beat the Tennessee Titans by 11. So what they were trying to do was basically say, Tannehill, you're going to have to beat us. Because they shut Derrick Henry down all but, 3.6 yards to carry, 69 yards. 1 TD. He didn't look like that the game before. He ran all over everyone. But we'll get into that later. So we'll stick with the offense. So, Tyreek Hill, 3 catches, 41 yards, no TDs versus the Texans. So he was almost pretty much relevant. There wasn't really much that he did. But you flip with the Titans, 5 catches, 67 yards, and 2 TDs. So there's not a lot of yardage to be had there. But the thing is you got to think about it. 5 catches, 67 yards. You know what I'm saying? That's at least 12 to 13 yards a catch. You see, like it's the numbers are what's eye-popping sometimes because it's the gappage. So if you have those type of plays or you have those big chunk plays, you know what I mean, then that's what comes into play and that's what throws you off. You're like, whoa, that's crazy. So look at that, 13.4 yards a catch versus the Titans. So that tells you, you know what I mean. And then 67 yards, but his long was 26. So a 26-yard run, you know what I mean? That means he's averaging probably about still 10 yards a catch, even with that 26-yard run there. So that's what it's the chunk plays. You know, you're not giving up a little 5-6 yard route underneath. You're giving up 10 to 15 yards with some of these receivers. Same thing. Sammy Watkins versus the Texans, 2 catches, 76 yards, no touchdown. But 2 catches, 76 yards. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like that. You look at the numbers, man. Like that's ridiculous. Sammy Watkins was averaging 38 yards a catch, and his long was 48. So he still had a ridiculously high average. So you got to think about that. Those are the chunk plays that we keep talking about. And then versus the Titans, 7 catches, 114 yards in the TD. That's still ridiculous numbers. 16.3 yards a catch. Chunk plays. You are not going to see these receivers having these little small, averaging, 8-9 yards a catch. They are always trying to average at least a first down or more per catch. It's what the offense is built for. You know what I'm saying? Mecole Hardman, he didn't really do much. 2 catches, 19 yards versus the Texans. 1 catch, 8 yards versus the Titans. He's non-existent, but you still have to be mindful of where he is on the field. Because as you can see, they use Hill, Watkins, and Kelce more than anyone. And the thing is if they start to see that you are eating up their receivers and they can't get open or not able to create the right separation, they will start to try to run the ball. They'll even probably have Pat Mahomes do a few bootlegs because that's what a lot of teams have done to us when they notice that we have an issue with mobile quarterbacks. But I mean, Hardman, you have to still be mindful of where he is on the field because of his speed and because of what he can do. If he catches that ball and bolts out of there, it's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? He aired it out versus the Texans. 5 TDs from Mahomes and 2 rushing TDs from Damian Williams. His totals, the total for the team for them, 434 total yards versus the Texans, 404 yards versus the Titans. So Mahomes is averaging about 305 yards a game through the air, 53 yards rushing. And then the thing is they're not, because they're scoring so much, you don't see Harrison Butker out there kicking field goals. So he's out there kicking extra points all the time. That's just what he's doing. Their field goal kicker pretty much is relaxed. He just be on the sideline just chilling. What you doing? Nothing. Trying to wait for them to go out. They scored. Give me a minute. He gets up off the bench. He doesn't need to warm up. Goes, kicks the extra point, calls it a day. And the PAT is the easiest thing you can do as a kicker because you don't have no pressure. It's just PAT. 9 times out of 10, for them, they're winning. So what they do is Pat Mahomes is a great motivator. When they were down versus the Texans, he came out, he said, let's do something special. Let's do something great. So you'll see this is their offense. It's air it out. Let's throw the ball downfield. Let's get down the field as quick as we can and as big of chunk plays as we can because we need to make sure that everyone knows who we are and what we're about. Damian Williams even can catch a couple of things out of the backfield if they need him to, but that's not their MO. Their MO is to push the ball downfield in as little time as possible. That's what their offense is. Here's the flip side to that. This is just strictly Kansas City's offense. So I'm telling y'all what that is. But when I get to our defense, I'm going to blow y'all minds. So this was just a video to give you guys some insight on Kansas City's offense if you're not very well in tune with it. But this is what they do. They air the ball out. Pat Mahomes can run if he needs to, and he will. But he's a smart runner. Mecole Hardman, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Sammy Watkins are the main dudes on that offense you have to be worried about because they want to throw the ball. They don't care about running the ball. The only reason they averaged anywhere near the amount of yardage that they have per game rushing is because of Pat Mahomes. And if he doesn't run, the 40, 50 yards a game, that's nothing. That is literally nothing. And it's too easy to stop. But we don't have to worry about that because we have some things that they aren't ready for, especially to deal with this, high-powered, fast, ridiculously quick offense. But that's it for this video. Like I said, this was strictly to get y'all up to speed on Kansas City and what they like to do offensively. I'll be back with some more.